CBS is doing some pretty groundbreaking stuff. I would love for you to just start by talking about, because we can make it specific, about your fourth quarter slate.
Sure.
And the 4-screen value proposition around all the properties in that lineup.
So, it's a great question and a good lead into what, I think the next really, 7 months are going to look like for CBS. So we have just a ton of things going on. We kicked off our premiere week just this week, and leading into that, we actually did something that I would consider unique. We talked a little bit about 2-screen, 4-screen with the last panelist, and we actually did something unique for the first time for us, and we think this is really the future of where 2-screen needs to go. We actually programmed, because as the owner of the content, which we all, I think, recognized as being incredibly important for 2-screen, to provide that enhanced and engaged television experience, we created a companion piece that lived on mobile only. We did actually stream it online as well. That synced up with a premiere show or preview show that we did leading into premiere week for CBS. So it was all exclusive content. While the show is going on, we actually programmed for that second screen experience and provided an enhanced interactive experience around the shows that they were talking about or were talking about on air. So very, very unique, very different in the marketplace. So premiere week for us obviously is huge. Other things that we're doing in fourth quarter, Victoria's Secret has something called a fashion show in November that is relatively large for us. And second screen and enhanced and exclusive content is going to be a huge initiative for that as well. We have something that we created about 2.5 years ago called Live on Letterman, that literally we take the bands that are going to show up in Letterman that night and we do a live webcast that evening. You can only see it online. You can only see it on mobile. Our mobile app is going to be launching very, very soon. So again, second screen from that perspective. And just to speed it up, so not only is there a lot of major events going on in fourth quarter for us, but first quarter, we're looking ahead to Grammys for us. That was the most social television show last year, or actually this year, with over 13.1 million social mentions. It was bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the VMAs, and we're looking forward to plussing that up with some really unique activations. We also have this thing called the Super Bowl coming down the pike that I'm sure you guys have heard of. We have March Madness. We have the ACMs.
SEC.
SEC, AFC Championship. So there's a lot of stuff. I think Leslie called it the trifecta, if you will, in television, and we have it. And the reason that I bring that up is for our advertisers and partners, this is just a great opportunity because the halo effect of all of those major events really brings about some good stuff, overall.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen from a behavioral perspective, it's live events that are driving
Absolutely.
Audience and social participation on them. The 5 most tweeted moments in the history of Twitter, probably 6 now, because if you look at the last Democratic convention, that bumped up, are all live TV moments, right? Where the actual person never participated.
That's true.
So
if I can comment on that for 1 second. One of the things that we are also spending a lot of time looking at is you're absolutely right. Live events are live events, and they're fantastic. We're almost looking at each one of our shows, television shows, as a live event because with the activation of the social graph and all of those things, if you're a passionate fan about a certain program, you can't. It's almost like the days of old where you wouldn't watch the Giants game that you just DVR'd until you got home, so you couldn't turn on the radio, you couldn't do anything because you automatically you
right.
find out who won. So it's the same thing from our perspective, from a TV show perspective for those passionate fans, and we have a lot of them. We're actually encouraging people to tune into that event because it's a TV event.
Right.
Every show is, especially with social.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual advertising side of it, because that's a big part of it, right? When you have a multi-screen proposition, the integrated sales side of it is tough, right? We come from a world where typically digital stuff was historically just thrown in as a value add to sell more 30 seconds. So now that you're really delivering an integrated value proposition, how do you sell that? We've talked about GRP. Mike from Glance from Forrester wrote just a report, is going to speak later today. Do you sell it on a GRP basis? Are you pulling that audience? Are you buying audience? Are you buying channels? How does an advertiser tackle that and approach that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think before we even crack that nut, I think we have to agree upon how you're going to buy video, period, and how you're going to buy that that content that you're seeing on that big screen, how you're going to buy that from a digital and mobile perspective. And we're doing a lot of testing along with our agency partners this year. I think this year is going to be a really interesting sort of testing ground for how we're going to do the types of things you're talking about in the future. But we have to level set first, and there's a lot of, whether it's leveraging behavioral for premium content, whether it's looking at things like a Nielsen OCR or a ComScore VCE. How does parity pricing with television come into effect? What is
Are you advocating that?
I am not advocating going one way or the other, but I would say that the thing that we need to be cautious of if we do end up going down that path is the limiting factor that that will bring about from a digital perspective. Because I think some of the really unique things that digital has been able to offer in the past may get cut out if you start to go too far down trying to put everything in this box that everybody can evaluate. And it's try to evaluate at least seamlessly with one currency. And I think the conversation is how much more money that will bring to the market, and that's great. But I think we all need to be thinking about what the potential detrimental effects might be by doing it that way.
So when we talk about buying video, if we talk about a 4-screen proposition and buying an audience,
Yep.
Whether it's evaluated on GRP or it's evaluated on impressions or it's with targeting and the ability to target, where do you see those dollars coming from? I mean, and I'm happy with a prediction, not necessarily a point in time where your business is, but is that share shift from TV? Is it digital dollars?
I think it depends on, and I this may sound like an answer or non-answer, but I think it really is different depending upon the agency group and even the client groups inside an agency. And we're seeing it all over the map. I mean, in some cases, we are seeing some shifts from television to digital. In other places, we're seeing broadcast buying teams taking the lead, digital buying teams taking the lead on in other spaces. So it really is truly all over the map right now, and I think we're going to continue to see that for the foreseeable future.
Do you think the upfronts how are the upfronts going to change for the next 2 to 4 years as a result? The process of the upfronts.
The upfronts, look, the upfronts are an animal that have been in that have very sort of stayed historical perspective over the last 75 years. So, getting in front of that locomotive and dramatically changing the way that's going to take place is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to change the way that happens. That being said, we are seeing more cohesive discussions around digital and even mobile from a video perspective. We really saw that this year. And I think those discussions are going to continue to happen. It depends on a lot of factors, the pace and the pace of the upfronts, which changes from year to year. The year before this year, there was a very, very aggressive, very, very fast upfront. This year, I think, was aggressive and maybe not as fast as the year prior, but it was still relatively quick. The thing that the business has got to be set up to take advantage of all of these things from an upfront perspective, and I mean not only on the publisher side but the agency side. And there are certain instances where things just if the second they get slowed down, and because our business is so much more difficult to sort of get through, the second that starts to happen, things fall off the track.